Hello, guys. Thanks for having me again on Kiwi meetup. Actually, we did a session from 8 months ago. It was like successful, and it was about Drupal upgrade from D8 to D9. I liked this session and this team so much. It was the first announcement of the early version of Drupal Bootstrap version builder on that session. So just to refresh, my name is Mahmoud Zayed. I'm software architect at ImageX Media. Aaron Creston is a software architect also, and he is my partner at this project. I will start by sharing the high-level architecture of the concept we introduced to the community. Then Aaron will take care about showing how this stuff work and demonstrated it. My name is Mahmoud Zayed, as I mentioned. I have started working on Drupal since 2008. During this journey, I met many clients from different cultures, from Middle East, from Europe, from USA, and then I landed here to Canada 2019. During this journey, all the customers I met agree on one thing, and most of you guys already saw this picture before. Drupal is not something easy for site builders, and the learning curve is very high. They also said that this CMS is built more for developers than the site builders. The leadership of Drupal community listened about these thoughts and tried to enhance the CMS and make it more easier for everyone to use. DrupalCon Vienna 2017 was very important con and Drupal community. Dries has announced layout builder module and then later become a part of Drupal core. When I listened to this session, I thought that layout builder will be like similar to visual builder technology tools like the popular tools. You can drag and drop, change backgrounds, change colors, etc. Then I attended to one of projects with my team, and my role on this project to demonstrate the site that use layout builder to one of our clients. The client feedback that he doesn't understand what is the wrapper, what is the additional attributes, what is why I need to select something called classes. So developers is still building tools for developers themselves, not for the site builders, not for the content editor. So since this time, I took the decision to build some functionality to make like a mapping between the developer and site builders and force some coding standards to allow the interaction between the developers and the site builders. One also of best initiatives as introduction before jumping to more details about the modules, atomic design. We know atomic design, something was very helpful on previous years. It's helped us to develop like atoms, then molecules, then organism, then templates, like what introduced here at the picture. So for example, we develop the heading or the link, the button, collect them on molecules, then the molecules, if we like to add more molecules beside each other, it's become organism. Then when we set some sort of organisms, it's become a template, and the template become later a page. We have this concept on Drupal in something called render array. When we develop a new element, or when we, for example, if we develop or build a new block, we have a wrapper that show the outer of this block. Then we have like some fields, and in each field, it can be a complex field, for example, like link, it can be title with URL, etc. But Drupal use a concept of render array to understand this front end. So you can imagine that every element in this hierarchy of building the block, it's returned from back end to front end as array. And every element has its own attributes. So we can say this element is an atom. We can assign classes, we can assign some attributes like data attributes or unique IDs, etc. So back to the previous layout example, if you saw on the right sidebar, you will see classes, ID, HTML attributes. And the developer goal was to assign these attributes to the render array to help him or her to manipulate the CSS from the theme side. So the issue now, it's become clear for everyone and understandable from everyone that we need a tool to do this mapping, like visualizing these classes, visualizing these attributes to make it understandable from non-technical people. So the best way to implement this before we jump on the project details is to develop the UI kit. The UI kit, I think most of you guys already familiar with these approaches. We develop like the headings, the colors, the brand identity in this UI kit. Then we convert it to components. And then in this components, we can like give it a unique number for reusability purpose. So if we have like a block contains the same headings, it should use the same headings with the same style, with the same assigned classes, etc., which is the concept of making an organism. Okay, so we built a tool or some additional modules to help implementing this mapping between the developer and site builder or content editor. We have built 3 modules. This modules based on a design button. It's called plugin, one of most popular design button in the software. Also, it's used a lot on Drupal in many areas like creating custom blocks, creating views, creating custom fields. Almost everywhere Drupal counts on plugin design button. This plugin design button helped us to implement some sort of flexibility on adding and remove some mapping tool to layout builder. So let's get more digging on the details. First, we developed Bootstrap styles. Bootstrap styles is a single responsibility. The responsibility of this module is just contain like some sort of plugins, plus scan all modules and search for the plugins that utilize the layout builder and depend on Bootstrap styles itself. So this inventory contains 2 types of plugins: plugin group and plugin style. If we return back to this image, We can imagine the background here that appear on the left image as a plugin group. When you jump down and see background color, this is a style plugin. So the idea, like this style plugin can assign classes to render array, can assign some attributes or advanced attributes that we need to manipulate or do some other stuff from JavaScript or CSS. It can do anything. The plugin group is just a wrapper of one or more style plugin. So to dig more on this example, we have background. We agreed this a group. And we have here some types: background color, background image, background video. We can say background color is a style group, is a style plugin. Background image is a style plugin. Background video is another style plugin. So I think it's come now on your mind. If we like to add embed video, for example, from Vimeo or YouTube as a background video, all we need is just inject this panel and add this style plugin, which is do this functionality. If we like to do like overlay on backgrounds, we can do it by either ways, by injecting the plugin already exists, which is background color, and add this additional functionality, or create a custom new plugin and add it to this panel. So this is the relationship between plugin group and plugin style, and this all come from Bootstrap styles. If you already used Bootstrap Layout Builder early version, this functionality already was part of Bootstrap Layout Builder. Then later I decided to separate the functionality to make a single responsibility. So Bootstrap Layout Builder just utilize and take care about dynamic layouts, the grid style, and Bootstrap style act as inventory. If Bootstrap Layout Builder need any of these plugins from this inventory, it can grab and take whatever the plugins needed for this module. And the same approach on Layout Builder blocks. Layout Builder blocks, if we back to my early example, it's allow you, by default, Layout Builder allow you to add some inline blocks or custom blocks to the page. So this block has a wrapper. This wrapper is based on render array. We can assign classes by Layout Builder or by custom functionality. So the idea is just to utilize Bootstrap styles, use whatever the plugins we need in Layout Builder blocks, and we can, of course, restrict or override any plugins come from Bootstrap styles as a source module. The third module here is XYZ. Because we use inventory here, which is Bootstrap styles, we can implement a new module. This module can depend on Bootstrap styles and use any of the plugins that you already saw on previous page. And of course, you can restrict or override any plugins that you don't like. The question is, this module should be depend on Layout Builder, and the answer is no. You can develop your own module. It can be a paragraph. It can be something, add some styles to field, to Drupal views. Anything that based on Drupal render array can be depend on Bootstrap styles and use any of these plugins, and you can implement your own panel. So the big picture of this idea is like build some tools that utilize atomic style, give the site builder or content editor a tool that he or she can understand, just visual. He understands which color he needs, so he can go ahead and select it. The same for the rest of plugins. we have described plugin group. Right now, our inventory, which is Bootstrap styles, have like background, typography, spacing, border, shadow, animation. These are the plugins group we already visualized. But as I mentioned, you can restrict any of these groups, or you can introduce your own group. Okay, the implementation part. Just to see how easy to implement a new plugin, all you need in your custom module, src plugin bootstrap styles style group, and then just you will need to give it a unique name to your group. Then in the annotation, you will need to add like a unique ID, background based on translation, so you can translate it from interface, and the weight controls the order of this plugins group in the panel. Icon, the icon you already saw on previous screen, which is appear beside the background title. And the class should extend styles group plugin base. This is come from Bootstrap styles module. And you have two groups of functionality you need to utilize. The first group is taking care about the configuration. For example, on our previous screen or in background example, you may need to add some configuration at the back end, just Drupal YAML configuration. And based on this configuration, you can decide which path you need to go. So this functionality or these two functions help you to implement this approach. You can add any configuration and save it. The second group, which is appear on the panel, the layout builder dialog, you have two functions, build style form elements. It's allow you to add fields to the panel. For example, the background type, which is you already saw when you select the icons, image, video, or background color. This is the place for this is the place you can add shareable fields between all the styles plugin. You can build it here, just simple stuff. Drupal default form. You can inject any CSS, any JavaScript libraries, as you're already doing with forms. And submit, inject the layout builder update or save functionality. And when you save this, it's store this configuration you already built, or the client choices, or the site builder choices in component setting, which is come out of the box on Drupal core. Nothing new here. Okay, so let's dig more on the details of building configuration. We have general configuration page for Bootstrap styles, and we can consider this page as the high-level definition of the atomic design. For example, we have here background group. In this background group, you can add some settings for the plugins itself. Background color, back to this example, you already saw like 4 or 5 colors appear at the front end. These colors come from classes. It's class-based. So in this group, you can define your classes. You can use these classes in all your website, in site builder and layout builder, on your theme, whatever. If you use any of our modules or create your custom module, you can retrieve these classes. And the second group, which is, as I mentioned, it's referred to the layout panel, which is appear on the right when you configure section or add a new section. Also, as I mentioned, the title, it's come from the annotation, the background icon the same, and the order of these groups come from the same. The icon, so looks straightforward, but as you see here, we have this type. This type doesn't belong to style plugin. We can't place storage of image in background color style plugin, for example. So we need some area to share the code that interact between different plugins. That's why we created a plugin group. The plugin group also injects the form. You can add any shared functionality between your groups, and also you will retrieve the configurations that happen real time on the right sidebar on the layout builder dialog from this function, and you can build it in your custom plugin. For the styles plugin, it's a subset of plugin group. All you will need to define the same, go to your custom module, or if you like to contribute back to Bootstrap styles, it can be Bootstrap styles, SRC plugin, Bootstrap styles. And this time, instead of group, you will use style. And then you will give a unique name to your style plugin. The annotation almost is the same, the ID, title, weight. We do not have icon here, but we have group ID to make the relationship or the dependency between the style plugin and group plugin. And here we have 3 groups of functions. The first group, the same functionality, it uses Drupal configurations. You can store, for example, the classes in YAML file. And from here, you can inject SRC configuration. You can inject Drupal admin configuration, Bootstrap styles, the panel that show all the configuration of all plugins, and you can save any additional values or items you need. Again, add elements to layout builder dialog. Here you can inject the fields that you like to use on layout builder front end. The new one, which is build, the responsibility of build is inject Drupal render array build, which means here, as I mentioned on group, we save in component setting on layout section setting. So we actually save like a blob configuration on the database. So the build responsibility is to convert the settings to a render array, which is appear in next slide. But let's take the first group of functionality. As I mentioned, you can build configuration form. Imagine we have a text area. This text area save like a key or value. You can define this by yourself. And after you define your fields and the client or the site builder or the developer himself adds this classes, when click save on Bootstrap styles, this configuration become global across all the modules uses Bootstrap styles. The second group of functionality, background color. In this function, we added only one field, it's radio. And this field add like multiple options. This option, we retrieve it from the previous step from this classes. And we injected this form by JavaScript and CSS library. So we converted the class to be rendered on this circle and gave it like some animation to make it look nicer. And then when we save this configuration, when the client or when the site builder select a color, it's saved in section component setting. And here is the responsibility of build function. It's retrieve all the settings saved here at the storage and converted to a class ID, anything you want to inject the render array of Drupal elements. This was overall the big picture about this modules. The most popular module of them, it's Bootstrap Layout Builder. The responsibility of this module is just to take care about the layout. It's allow you to create dynamic layouts on a page. You can like define the breakpoints you need on the site. For example, desktop, tablet, mobile. You can reorder them as the priority. You can add more. You can remove or disable any of them as per project requirements. And in every breakpoint, you can enable some sort of columns. For example, here at the desktop 2 columns layout, we have enabled like 50-50, 25%, 75%, and vice versa. You have the full control of removing or add any options that utilize Bootstrap C. The question is this tool built for Bootstrap only? Right now, it's commonly used with Bootstrap, but as you already see here, everything is configurable. We have a base class. If you wish to use any other front-end framework, you should be able to do this. Maybe it requires some patches, or but it will be minor, and I'm open to make it global that utilize any front-end framework. And the second tab on the module, you are familiar with this. Of course, this comes from Bootstrap styles. And the responsibility for Layout Builder here is just inject the render array of the section. Nothing else. The third tab, which is setting. If you remember the stuff that I hated at the beginning of injecting custom classes and custom attributes, I hate this third panel, to be honest, but some cases is still required and requested by the community. So we decided to give the custom options a place. So if anyone like to add any custom stuff and don't like to build like a plugin, still can do this. Layout Builder blocks. We get any block built by Drupal, can be custom. It can come from custom block library, can come from Drupal views, whatever the source of block. We take all the block with its configuration and add it to a tab. It's called content. And the second tab, it's called style. And you are familiar with this. It's come from Bootstrap styles, and the responsibility is just to inject the render array of block. Also, we have added some restrictions option. Because we are using plugins, we are able to load these groups with its plugins and enable or disable these plugins per block. Finally, I made this one last Christmas on the vacation. It's called section library. It's not stable enough. It's in beta version. But imagine that we have built a layout or section. We have added the columns. We configured the blocks inside these columns, and we added like a classes and or configuration or whatever the implementation is. We would like to reuse this section as is in another page, or it can be a duplicate in the same page, or we like to group some sections and edit like a template. We can do this by this module, but of course we need to do more to get this module stable and move to stable version. Okay, finally, I will share the current roadmap we have internally. We are now on the current versions on Bootstrap styles 1.0.3, BLB 2.0.1, Layout Builder blocks 1.1, 1.0.1. Section library, as I mentioned, still in beta version. Our goal until June 2021, add merge more plugin. If you implement like style plugin and you feel it's generic enough and like to contribute it back, of course, you are welcome to do this. And we are internally do the same stuff. Also, I'm working on responsive, which is very important feature. We would like to add the flexibility to, for example, if you like to change the background on mobile device and have a different one on tablet or desktop, we would like to provide some out-of-the-box components when you build your plugin and depend on this, functions, this class and this uses this function, you should be able to have responsive out of the box. The structure of responsive a little bit complicated, but we are trying hard to finish it in this phase. Also, as we agreed, all based on render array. Right now, and Bootstrap layout builder, for example, we have the render array of the section itself and inject classes to this section. But we have regions, we have columns. So we need to add the ability to style the columns or the regions if we like to use layout builder terminology. Layout builder blocks, the same stuff. Right now we style or we assign the classes to the wrapper. I would like to add like a drop down so we can select which field we like to assign this classes or this functionality to its render array. And we are thinking to introduce something like field groups. So you should be able to add the custom wrappers and style these wrappers as well. Section library, our goal in this phase is just to release a stable version. By December 2021, we would like, of course, keep merging more generic plugins. And we are also thinking to add import-export templates, at least across multiple environments in the same website. Also, we are thinking to create or introduce sections hub. This will let you add like some reusable components to this hub and use it by import or export across multiple websites. Also, our team is working on creating reusable components, blocks like tabs, some cards, vertical, horizontal, all this stuff. That uses the same approach of utilizing Bootstrap styles and injecting these panels and functionality. This is actually our roadmap, but I expect some help from the community. If anyone like to contribute component, like to create his own module and utilize Bootstrap styles and use the same approach, and like us to help or promote it, we can do this, of course. So thank you so much for having me again. And now let's move to the demo and see all this concept in interaction. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot, Mahmoud. All right, so this is our demo page that we usually use on our modules, on the project pages. So these, this banner might be a little bit familiar to you if you've been browsing Drupal.org. This is a basic lightning distribution setup that we have, just a super basic theme. And we've added basically just Bootstrap the CSS and the JavaScript to our theme. But you can test against Barrio, which is an adopted Bootstrap theme on Drupal.org that's free for you guys to download and use. And that will give you the base. But the one requirement for our module right now to work with classes is you need to actually include the grid. So that's pretty much the only requirement. We don't inject any Bootstrap versions because, as you know, if you're familiar with Bootstrap, there's different versions, 3, 4, and 5. And so we don't want to pin any versions or add the overhead if you have a custom theme that you've already implemented the grid on. So yeah, with that, we all kind of assume that you guys are familiar with Layout Builder and setting it up, so getting it installed. Once you have installed our module, you're going to visit obviously a content type. So I've created one for landing pages. This is usually how we set it up. We don't usually do Layout Builder on every single content type, although you can. Landing pages is the one that we've found clients most need to adjust layouts like on a per page basis. Layout Builder does give you the option though to set up like a default display, which you can create through Layout Builder and just lock it down. So you could create you know, the different columns and things like that, and then essentially use fields on your node edit page, and then place those fields or those blocks within Layout Builder. So to enable the new Bootstrap Layout Builder columns or layouts, you're going to go to landing page, manage display, and that will take you to this page. If you have multiple display modes set up, just make sure you're on the default display mode. Sometimes that tricks people up a little bit. So make sure you're on the default display mode. Scroll down to layouts available for the section. And as a default, these ones come with Layout Builder 1 through 4. So just disable these guys and then scroll down. And I've got Lightning, so there's a couple that come with Lightning as well as Barrio. And then these are the columns that we have created for Bootstrap Layout Builder. So typically, we only use 1 through maybe 4 columns, but you do have the option to create up to 12. And then, of course, you can add as many as you want through the backend configuration screens. So once you've added our layouts, they're going to be available in the off canvas panel once you get into the layout mode. So if you're not seeing those layouts in there, it's probably because you missed this particular step. All right, so once you've saved that, you can get back into a landing page. I've obviously created this one ahead of time, but you'll have your layout tab once you're logged in, and it will swap you into the layout building experience. So here we have, I've created a 2-column section just so that our video doesn't get overlapped with text, and just spaced it accordingly. So if I hit configure, you'll see this is our off-canvas menu with our 2-column Bootstrap Layout Builder layout. As well as when you add a section, you should see these 3 layouts that I enabled on the previous screen, which will give you the option to start adding and then configuring all of these options here. So before I get into diving into what each of these do and how they relate back to the classes in Bootstrap, we'll just take a look at some of the configuration screens. So under configuration, content authoring, you'll see a number of configuration pages. So Bootstrap Layout Builder, this is going to give you the option to create your different devices, as well as the columns in there. Bootstrap Styles is for our plugins, and then Layout Builder Blocks is going to give you the option to start restricting some of the plugins within block edit screens. So I've already opened up a few of them. This is Bootstrap Layout Builder, and this one is particularly the breakpoints configuration screen. So again, we're using the base class as call LG. These are, if you look up Bootstrap or getbootstrap.com, I think it is, and you take a look at the grid, it will show you all of the available ones. You can add like call XL for maybe like a large desktop device. So this is the place that you're going to do that. And then once you've created your breakpoints, you're going to get into your layouts. And this is how you tie your layouts with certain layouts. So we have, for example, our 2-column layout. 1 column is pretty standard. There's only one layout or only 1 column setting. But if we get into like a 2-column layout, you can see this is where you can start to set up your grids or your column sizes. Right now, we basically just require that these equal 12, although I think there's a patch out there right now that we're going to be looking at implementing or rolling in, which will give you the flexibility to do like a 16-column grid. I think maybe there's up to 24 or something like that. That would probably be a little bit excessive, but you do have the option to do that, as well as you can disable some of these. And then, you know, if you find you're always using like the 2 equal columns, of course, you can drag that, and that will just adjust the weighting within the panel. Okay, so that is the actual column settings, and those are tied to your layouts. If we get into styles, this is that restriction area that was talked about from Mahmoud. This is how you could essentially disable content editors from being able to maybe add like a background image and video. Maybe you only want to have the ability to add colors on your layout builder sections. This is the area that you're going to do that. So these are the available plugins right now. As you create a plugin, these will automatically get added into this page for you guys. And so there's a lot of stuff that is done automatically that'll just allow you to keep with the existing module structure. And you don't have to keep building, you know, extra features to implement like a restriction or something like that. If we get into the settings, there's the option to hide that last panel, this guy right here. So you can actually turn off this if it's confusing for a content marketer. Sometimes they get a little bit overwhelmed by seeing classes and YAML configuration fields. So you do have the option to turn that off. The one thing that I do like about this is that you can start to name your sections. So right here, you know, I've called this one Hero Banner, and I've saved this one as a component. And so when I import that, that will come over as well. And I think that, oh, you can set like your 1-column layout class so they don't, so that a user, when they create like a 1-column section, they don't actually have to select like one full width column. It'll just automatically build that once you create a 1-column section for you. So you don't have to actually select 1 column as you're building a 1-column. And that is pretty much the layout builder or Bootstrap layout builder And you can tie that to kind of the off-canvas menu as well, because you're not using columns within blocks. Okay, the next one is Bootstrap styles. Oh, I think I kind of touched on, oh no, sorry. This one, yeah, this will give you extra restrictions, and you can also do it on, this is for layout builder blocks. So when you're adding a block or you're configuring a block, you'll have your style options in here. So sometimes you want the ability to give the user the option to add a background image within a section, but you don't want to give them the option to add an image on a block. This is where you can restrict it to only show up on sections and not show up on your blocks. As well as you can start restricting it right down to the block type. So if they're adding, say, a title, like a page title, and you don't want them to add some weird stuff to that particular block, you can just start turning things off or on. This is our Bootstrap styles. So this is, again, the main module. And this is really the look and feel of how Bootstrap is going to interact with your site and the page building experience. So we've created, the very first one is a dark and a light theme. Sometimes the contrast on here is a little bit too much. So you can start to play with some of these settings. I'll switch it over to light and you guys can see how this theme looks. So it just replaces our off-canvas menu as well as our block screens with a little bit of an easier, cleaner look and feel if this theme matches your site a little bit better. We've found that some people like to use this one over the dark theme, as well as it gives it a little bit more of a personalized feel for your site. I will just use dark, so it has a little bit more contrast for our screen share. And here are some of the configuration fields that we have created. So as you guys are creating your sections in here, this is the colors area, and this is just all mapped through this one field here where you set your class, which essentially gets added from the render array to the div on the front end for the section or the block. And then as you've seen, it's just the human readable name when you're hovering over. Sometimes you can't tell between, say, like a light and a white or something like that. So it just gives you the option, as well as some clients use like certain names for their colors, like a crimson red or something like that. So you can kind of adhere to the client's their brand guidelines, as well as implement some of those names so that if they're really familiar with some of the colors, that there's no disconnect between the page building experience and how maybe they use some of their internal tools. So that's background colors. We use Drupal core media. So you're just going to map your image plugin to an image media type. So make sure that you guys have image and video if you want to use these two particular fields. And if you're using Lightning, they do actually come with a bunch of media types already pre-installed. So that's why I have quite a few on my local setup here. And into topography, we have some color classes. What we've done here is just because we're not we're not loading Bootstrap for you guys, we've essentially just created like a copy of some of the classes and then prefixed it with BS- so that it doesn't conflict with, say, your existing theme. but you really should remove these, and as you're going through the configuration forms, you know, tie it either back to Bootstrap, where it would just be like text white or text black, light or dark, whatever you guys have set up through your SAS file, and then save your form so that when you do upgrades and things like that, you're now tied to Bootstrap, not necessarily our module classes, which are just purely meant for examples. Here we have our spacing. So this is our padding classes. Again, this essentially can be mapped right back to Bootstrap if you just reuse the classes there, as well as you can create, if you're familiar with Bootstrap, you can create any number of spacing classes. So it could be padding 1 through 10 or 15, or maybe you just have 1 or 2. So you have the ability to kind of restrict it in here. Same thing for margin. And this is the spacing section in here. So what we do is we essentially just, we grab the class and then we do some JavaScript calculations to figure out the pixels. So these are all supposed to be adjusted in your style sheet for spacing units. And then we just, again, we just convert those on the front end using JavaScript. So there's no extra configuration on like what 16 pixels is on the front end versus how you've set it up in your theme. We have a border option as well. So this is, again, setting up things like side-based borders. So you can have like a dashed border on the top and then maybe a solid one on the bottom. You can change the color. Maybe your specific design has like a large left, a larger left side border that is red or something like that, where the right-hand side is just turned off. So you can start to apply multiple settings using the way we have some of this set up. So you can kind of see it in the previewer there. And then you could set up a few more things in here for the difference. So ideally, you know, you probably wouldn't be using these colors, but ones that match your theme. But these are all configurable in the backend as well. You can do rounded corners, and these are just, again, Bootstrap classes that will allow you to change some of these options. The other one is the shadow or box shadow plugin. Depending on your theme, you might have like a light box shadow or a dark box shadow. So you can set up some of the options in here. And the last one is our animation effects. This is using the Animate on Scroll library. And this one is pretty much all class-based as well. We add like some data attributes. So again, you're not limited to like classes or IDs when you're building out your plugins. It can be anything that you attach to your div. And in this case, we're doing a custom data attribute. And this will give you an idea of kind of what the animations look like. So you can build this on a section or attach it to a block. And this just is the nice personalization field that you can add to your guys' clients' websites. So take a look there. That's called the Animate on Scroll library again. And again, you can turn these things off if you don't like them, either by restricting them, or you can essentially just you know, wipe them out by deleting them right out of the fields. Okay, so that is pretty much the configuration of it all. I'll just take you guys through adding a section. So once you add a section, there's the option to set up your columns. So the first one is your container type. This essentially is the Bootstrap container class. This one is like a container fluid. And then this edge to edge removes any paddings or gutter spacing that would have been attached to a container or container fluid. You can turn off the gutters and that will give you that full edge to edge experience. I'm going to keep mine as boxed for now. And if you don't know what the gutter is basically the 15 pixels as a default in Bootstrap between each of your columns so that they don't butt up against one another. So a little bit easier to see in the 3-column section here. Okay, I'm going to configure these as 3 equal columns, and then on desktop, tablet, and then on mobile, we want them to just stack natively. So I'll add that section. And so now we have our 3 columns. And I turned off gutters. You can see it with gutters on, just kind of adjust some of the spacing in between here. And then you can start adding your blocks as you normally would, or we can go back into adjusting some of the settings for our sections. So I'll just add in like a purple background here. One thing that you'll notice as you start theming your website, you're constantly having to add like a class to like maybe the default color of the body text on your site is a dark color. And then when you start adding in your blocks that have, or adding in your blocks against a section that has a dark background, you can no longer see your text. So that's why we came up with the typography plugin. So this is just going to allow us to set a global text color for all of our blocks. Although you can turn this off and just do it on a per block basis as well. This is again like a global alignment for all of the sections, so you don't have to keep doing that on each block. And then spacing, I'm just going to add in, maybe I'll just do it on the top and the bottom just so we can see our background come through. And I think I'll leave it at that for now. So once you hit update, you'll see your section gets updated. And you can come back in here and start playing around with some of the settings if you wanted it to be, a red background. So again, these are just assigning classes. We don't do a ton of inline JavaScript, which can be obviously pretty heavy on the performance side, as well as there's a little bit more room for error when you have a lot of inline JavaScript and CSS going on. So that's why we've gone with the class-based model. I will kind of show you guys how we've created blocks. So again, these are just custom block types. If you install the Layout Builder Blocks module, this will give you the option on the configuration screen for you guys to upload an image. Or an icon rather, so you can make this a little bit nicer when you're presenting it to clients or when you're building it. And obviously you can have quite a few block types in here, which get a little bit confusing if you don't know what they're referencing. So I'll just add in maybe a Google map here. Just add in the ImageX address and we'll add our block. Okay, so you can see now we have our white text showing up, even though our default theme uses a dark color. So this just gives you a little bit more options as you guys are playing around with like moving, say, our block into a lighter one. You can see we no longer have to configure the dark text because it's attached to our section. And obviously people really like the drag and drop experience. So once you've created all these sections, like Mahmoud was saying, can be a little bit troublesome if you want to reuse that same block or that same section, same layout on another page, to have to go back and reference this section or the block's configuration, because obviously there's a lot that you guys can do within the panel here. So that's why Mahmoud created a very helpful module that will allow you to save essentially all these configuration items that you've done in the off canvas menu or in your blocks configuration screen, and save that into the library. So that one's the section library module that he talked about, that was in the beta phase, that we'd love to get stable soon. So once you're happy with that, you just select add to library, and this will just give you an option to give it a label, and then you can upload that image. That is a little bit easier for people to view as they're creating the new landing pages, or it could be on a different content type as well. So I've already created a few for like our hero banner. If you go under content and you just open up the main content screen, you'll see there's a new section called Layout Builder Library. And so essentially, once you add it and you've uploaded your image, what we usually do is we'll just look at this in like a logged out view, and we'll just zoom out, and then we'll take like a screenshot of our section, and then we'll upload that to that screen here with the image. And so once you've created a brand new page, and we get back into our layout screen, you'll see we just have essentially a blank canvas. And so again, creating all those configurations could take us a while. So if you go in this screen, you'll notice that there's the import section from library. So if we click on that, that gives us that previous screen where we saved it to our library. So I can quickly just hit import, and you'll see I now have that brand new section with our label, all the block configuration, anything that I've done through the style tab gets brought over in this page, or in these blocks, since they're saved in the storage settings, and then you guys can customize these. So the nice thing about this is it creates like a clone, is disconnected with the original one that you created. So anything that you guys do in here will only update this instance of it. It will not update your guys's global component. So if I just like refresh my page, you'll see this one is still the original block, the one that I saved earlier. And we also have a brand new hero banner that we've adjusted some of the content. And you can change any of the configuration options as well. Resave that as like, version B or something like that. And then you guys have quite a number of layouts or sections that you guys can build your guys' page on. And the last little piece that I want to touch on is just this was just importing a section. You can actually import a whole template. So that would be, we created a hero banner. Maybe I got the Google Map block in here. I created one with some phones, something that we call like a ping pong block, text on the left, image on the right, and then just vice versa on the next one. And so this is the saving the whole collection of sections to your library again, but this saves it as a template versus just a singular section. And then you can import your template as well. So I'll just remove this guy, and we can just have a look at how that one works. So I only want a section, or sorry, I only want a template rather. and I want to import my whole demo page that I created earlier. I saved this at a point where I had been playing around with the box shadow. So this one came over with the original one, and then I adjusted it back on the home page. So that's why it's not appearing on there. But again, just validation that you have separate instances of the same block. And we have our ping pongs as well. So that all came over from our original homepage that we created, and didn't take too long to import it. And then, as you can see, you can start to configure these sections with different layouts or section settings. So with that, I think I will pass it back over to whoever else I'm passing it back to. I'm not sure, probably Ala?
Yep. Thank you so
Awesome.
much, you both. And
you.
Also we have a question in our chat. How exportable are these templates with Drupal config export? Or maybe Mahmoud already answered that. Yeah.
Yes. So Ramiz, right now, as I mentioned on our roadmap, we don't have export functionality on section library, but it's one of our goals to achieve during this years, and we are planning to make it exportable in across all environments of the same project. And also we are studying now to make it global, like by building a hub of shareable configurations, then shareable sections, then you can import the sections in different websites. So we are doing this, of course.
Great, thank you for the answer. Do we have any other questions? You can always unmute and talk to us. Yeah, one more question in our chat. Do you see it, guys?
I do, yeah. So this is these are our modules that have been created that I've currently installed aside from, I guess, our Lightning distribution. And this is the section library module, which you can download right now. So you can see there's a couple sites using it already. We have it, I think, on a couple of our internal projects going on right now. And as well, there's a super helpful OS training video on how to use it. So if this wasn't enough, then you guys can take a look at this video as well.
Yeah, you can just install and test it. And if you face any issues, feel free to report this issue to Drupal issue queue. And we will try to help as much as we can to get it stable by June 2021 this year.
Great. Thank you so much, guys, for such awesome presentation and answers to our questions.